My name is Jeff St Laurent. This is a live Tuesday call, and as I was just telling the people that are here that we're going to do open office hours today, and I'm still going to record it so we can post it, because there's always some, even just by listening to what other coaches are going through, what they're looking to accomplish, we can learn a lot from that, even if they're going to listen to this recording. And like I said, before we get going, I would love to invite everyone to check out my website. I've got a lot of great resources there as I help coaches transition to a full-time business. My website, sellingcoaching.com. If you go there under the university, that's, if you will, the hub of my education. That's where I post all the Tuesday call recordings. And then also I've got a lot of great other shorter videos there as well. Again, all helping coaches transition to a full-time business. Right at the top of every page, you'll see a little banner that says, hey, come over and join my private Facebook group. Got a great private Facebook group over there, just about 1,200 coaches, and we've been growing that for a while now. Great place to interact, and also I'd love that to be a space where coaches can speak their voice. I'm a big advocate of video, so you'll see a lot of videos over there as well. So you can go ahead and check that out. And then lastly, right on the homepage of my website, sellingcoaching.com, I've got an awesome resource for you, and that's the Ultimate Startup Guide for New Coaches. I kind of goof around a little bit and say, hey, check out my, I'll give you my dog, my yellow lab, if you enter your name and email. That's just my humor, but that's for my Ultimate Startup Guide for New Coaches. So go ahead and check that out as well at sellingcoaching.com. And then lastly, I'm available for one-on-one and group mentoring if you find yourself in a space where you're like, I need some help, I need some guidance, or it's working a little slower, I don't want to work through all these bumps. Just go to the Work With Me page on my website, scroll down the bottom. If you fill that form out, we can connect directly, and then obviously from there, just create a relaxed conversation to see if I can help you or not, or where you want to go. So with that being said, we got some more people calling in, and the way we're going to run today's special Tuesday call is I'm having open office hours. I've done this a couple times in the past. Last time I did it was right at the beginning of the new year. Had a really good turnout and had some really good questions. So I'm going to kind of do this roundhouse style in the sense that obviously we can't see each other, but I'm just going to have, first come, first serve, just shout your name, and ideally have a specific question as narrowed down as possible. Most people, when they ask a question, they don't really ask a question. They kind of tell a story. And at the end of the story, they really haven't asked a question, and usually I'll say, so let me ask you, what's your question, right? What I'd like you to say if you're coming in is think about, like, before you say anything, well, what is my real question? What am I looking to? What's the bottom line? Maybe you can't quite get there yet, but let's try and get there. And then if I need other peripheral information that requires more, I'll certainly ask around it as well. And what my hope is that, I want to move through your question, give you some specifics, and then open it up. And then if no one else is shouting their name out and you've got another one, we'll certainly take another one of your questions. But I want to, get around to as many people as possible, so not only we can help you, but also you can learn from other people as well. So with that being said, the call is open. Who's got the first question that they want answered?
Hey, Jeff, it's Rochelle.
Go for it, Rochelle.
I'm curious as to if you are familiar with a group called freespeakers.org. I'm looking for opportunities to get in front of people and talk. So I'm just curious if there's things out there like that, if you would recommend it, or not so much.
Yeah, so I'm checking it out right now. Freespeakers.com. I obviously have
org.
not.
No, org.
.org. Okay, yeah, because freespeakers.com is for sale.
Yeah, no, org.
I have not heard of that, but essentially what you're asking is, if I had heard of that, is it a good thing?
Yeah, I mean, because they're looking for you to join the site. You pay at different levels, and supposedly, different companies in the Chicago area will have access to this database of speakers and can pick, your presentation and will contact you to come and speak, basically pro bono, but you're getting in front of
That's exactly it.
Certain topic.
Perfect. So here's what I'll say is I don't know of this. I have it in front of me right now. It looks like it's just for Chicago. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So I would definitely check that out. Here's the thing. Anything that we find online, I'll generalize it for everybody in the sense that anything we find on live that is potentially going to, put us in a space where we can create speaking engagements, so we can connect with people that we can actually get in front of people, even if it's pro bono. Yes, look into that.
Okay.
And if there's a monthly fee to it, et cetera, unless it's ridiculous, and you have to define what ridiculous is. To me, for something like that,
$100 to be in their directory at the highest level.
Gotcha. So, what was the cost? Sorry.
Well, they have 3 levels. So at the highest level, where you get all these bells and whistles, and your profile is higher than others, it's $100, and I think the low end is maybe $39 or $49 or something like that.
Gotcha. And that's a monthly thing, right?
No, a year.
Oh, that's to me that's dirt cheap. I would say that'd be dirt cheap. So I would just go right in. Yeah, that's a no-brainer, and I would really work it. But here's the thing. Here's a suggestion for it. Whether it's this or anything else, let's say there's another 10 sites like this. I wouldn't be working like all 10 sites necessarily. I don't know how involved you have to be. Like, find one, get into it, and like really work it.
Okay.
Right, and like see, don't explore other options, but like see how you can get into it and work the contacts, and set up speaking engagements.
Okay.
That would be my recommendation.
Okay. Thank you.
Good?
Yeah.
Awesome. Who else has a question?
Just starting out, you kind of know where I am in my practice, so I have a few clients. Is it necessary for me to obtain liability insurance at this point? And if so, who would you recommend?
Yeah, and you're saying liability insurance to cover you?
Yeah, as a coach.
Yeah, so my recommendation would be no, and people have different opinions on this at this stage in the game, because I do know where you are. You're starting off with anything. Honestly, like even at my stage in the game, I've been doing it, 13 years, and got a full clientele, and earning a good income from it, et cetera. I still don't have liability insurance.
Okay.
It's honestly, I can't be that. Don't be like, get into a situation and be like, oh, Jeff said I didn't need it. You know what I mean?
I get it, but I'm just, I don't want to spend money before I have to.
Exactly. And honestly, it's like, with what we're doing, unless you're doing something really specific, and Rochelle, like I know, who you're helping with what specifically, and it's not like a risky thing per se. So we would use our judgment on that. But other than that, no, I wouldn't spend money on liability insurance. There are some people out there that are really paranoid about things like that, and if you are one of those people listening, or that's you, Rochelle, you might need it just for your own paranoia, if you will, and I'm not saying that in a bad way.
I know you.
I'll throw that out there, but right now, no, I wouldn't do it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. All right, my friends, who else? Rochelle's got 2 under her belt, and I know she's got more.
Yeah, and I'm going to be quiet.
Yeah. We'll give him a few seconds. So who else has a question? Open office hours today for those of you that just called in as well. Rochelle, you go again?
Sure.
Go for it.
Okay. What is your policy around if you do a 30-minute complimentary session with someone and they're a no-show? Do you allow them to reschedule, or do you just kind of let it go, and if they circle back to you, whatever, especially if you held the space?
Yeah, right. So first off, if I've got a complimentary session of any length and someone doesn't show, the first thing I'm doing is going back and I'm requalifying them. If someone doesn't show for a complimentary session, and especially, did this person just bag you? They didn't show up at all and didn't warn you?
No. What happened? It was a follow-up from a workshop that I had. And probably about an hour or so after the session was supposed to happen, I get a message, oh, sorry, something came up. I apologize. Can we reschedule? Oh, and if we can't, that's okay, but I'm just, this, woo-woo-woo violins playing. Yeah. And initially, I said no, because I felt like I had an hour booked for you in my calendar that I couldn't or wasn't doing something else, and time is money. And then I thought about it, and I'm like, well, they paid for this as a part of the workshop, so I probably, as good customer service, should honor it. And so I circled back and did the session with them, and they've since done it. But they didn't convert to a client, and quite frankly, I didn't push it because that's not the type of client I want that I got to chase.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so in other words, when they did that workshop that you did, they paid for the workshop and you included a 30-minute complimentary session, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, yeah. So odds are these people, and I can't qualify all of them, but it seems like, oh, they're just doing it because they just got it included, right? So what that, especially when someone doesn't show like that, or it's like, oh, sorry I missed it, and then they're saying like, can we reschedule? If not, don't worry about it. What if you can hear what that really means is they're not valuing it. That make sense?
Yeah.
Like if someone values something, number one, they're going to show up, and number two, if they can't, they're going to let you know. And if they just happen to brain fart and they miss it, it's not going to be like, oh, if not, don't worry about it. They're going to be very apologetic. Be like, oh my God, please, I really want this. Did you see the difference?
Yeah.
So that's number one thing. Traditionally, if someone's missing a complimentary session, this situation's slightly different because you gave it away as part of like a registration thing. If someone's missing a complimentary session, to me that means I didn't qualify them good enough, meaning they're probably not coming to this call thinking, wow, I'm considering hiring you as my coach, and therefore it just slipped my mind, or I just blew it off because I forgot about it or whatever. I always go back to that person and say, hey, listen, hope things are great. Hope everything's okay. Because I always say, I know it's not like you to just miss something like this. Like I give them the benefit of the doubt, and I always put that on. And I know it's not like you, so I hope everything's okay. Let me know what's going on, and if you're still genuinely interested in hiring me or not. If you are, I'm more than happy to reschedule, but I want to make sure that this is something that you're serious about and genuinely interested in. So do you see where I took it there?
Yeah.
Ideally, that's already been discussed, and that's why they're doing it. But I can't honestly remember the last time I had someone not show up for a comp session for any reason in a long time since I've qualified them really well like that. And if that were the case, that's exactly what I would do with them. I qualify how serious they are.
Okay.
If they haven't told me already. I used to give away, this is for everyone here too, is I used to, like at events and stuff like that, I used to give away complimentary sessions. I don't recommend that anymore. It's not necessarily a bad thing. I'd rather give them a free offer or something of value based on what I'm talking about to capture, name, email information, then follow up with them afterwards. And from that follow-up, qualify timing and need. And if it's there, ask if they have ever considered working with someone like myself or hiring me as their coach. And if that all checks out, then offer them a complimentary session. Do you see the difference there?
Yeah.
That's what I would recommend, the flow of it. But if for whatever reason you continue to do that, or in this situation, and you give it away, because I used to do that as well, I still qualified people before they took it. Meaning if I gave away, hey, do this and you'll get a free, like I used to sell my books or my audio courses at my events. And if you purchase, my complete library, not only do you get this, but you also get a bonus, 30-minute one-on-one session with me, valued at blah, 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 right? And then the people that, before I set it up with them, I qualify and say, I know this is included in what you bought. What's your motivation for wanting this call, blah, blah, blah. And honestly, the people that weren't, like, seemingly interested in working with me at all, those people I'm like, hey, you know what? We can still have it if you want because you earned it. But with that being said, it doesn't seem like there's anything right now that requires us talking about it that's urgent enough for you, or you're kind of busy. My recommendation would be, it's not going to expire. Why don't we save this till a time where it's something that you really need to talk about, or you're in a position where you think you might need someone like myself as your coach. And you see what I did there?
Yeah, that makes
I qualified it, and now I didn't have the call with them, but we kind of still have it. And honestly, I can't remember anybody that I did that with that used that later on down the road. Even though I followed up with some people, they just weren't interested in working with me.
Okay.
So
Yep. All right.
hopefully that helps there with the strategy. All right, my friends, open call, open mentoring hours. Rochelle's got 3 under the belt now. Who else wants to ask a question? I'd love to hear from somebody.
Hey, Jeff, it's Laurent.
Go for it.
Yeah, and kind of as to piggyback off of what Rochelle was saying about you qualifying a client, how many times do you believe you should follow up with someone you've already done the comp session, they have expressed multiple times and even picked the package that they want to be able to work with you, but yet has not, obviously submitted payment or did all of the other pre-work to get started? How often do you follow up with them?
Okay. Yeah, that's a great question, Lynette. So you're basically saying, okay, we did the comp session. They said they wanted to hire you. They picked a package or whatever, and they're like, great, so let's, and then that's it. And now it's just like, okay, they haven't paid yet. What's going on? You've probably followed up. But it's like, how much do you continue to follow up, right?
Correct.
Okay. So first, let me say this. I'll answer your question, and then I'll go into like how to avoid that, because that's obviously not a fun situation, right? Because you're like, they said yes, they said they wanted to hire you, they gave you whatever reason they gave you that they needed to think about or get back to you on, and then it's like we get to that place where it's just like, well, now I feel like I'm bugging them, right? And then what's too much or what's too little, and then am I pushy if I keep doing that?
Exactly.
And then it's just like they're not even getting back to me what's going on, So first off, when we have any type of follow-up with, and this is anything, this could be before that or anything for that matter, but especially here, we want to have an agreed-upon follow-up. So in other words, if you're getting off the phone with me after a comp session and you're saying, Jeff, I want to hire you, and I'm not taking that payment right then and there, and you're like, yeah, this is the package, et cetera, I want to get down to you. It's like, okay, great. So you're gonna hire me at this package. What are you sending them a link or something like that to check out? Like,
correct.
How do they pay? That's what you're doing?
Yes,
okay.
Exactly.
So you send them a link. So, okay, so I'm going to send you the link, and then go ahead and check out. What I would make sure I would do there is number one, if you're going to send them a link, I would actually send them a link on the phone and say, are you in front of your email? Can you get in front of your email? And then send them the link and then walk them to the checkout then and there.
Gotcha.
All right?
Makes sense.
You need someone to pay at the end of the session, right? If you're not, then you're like, okay, I'm going to send you the link. I would get them in the schedule for the first session. Great, you have a calendar in front of you. I want to schedule our first session. You're trying to get them to commit to this.
Right.
Great. When do you think, I would ask them this, when do you think you're going to be able to check your email, click that link, and check out? That's a question you want to ask them.
Makes sense.
And then if I've got them in the schedule, and let's say today's Tuesday, right? So let's say, yeah, we're in the schedule for next Tuesday. Great, that's our first session. I try and book them as soon as possible. Like, in other words, if I'm doing a comp session, like I'm actually have a comp session today at 2 o'clock. If they end up hiring me, I'll be like, hey, do you want to meet this week? If I've got time, I want to get that person in the schedule. And in that case, hopefully they're going to click that link before then and check out. If not, I would follow up with them before the session. But I would say, like, great, you're going to do this then? Great. If for whatever reason, you haven't checked out by then, would it be okay if I followed up with you just as a friendly reminder?
Okay.
Right, I would say that. I want permission. To me, with follow-up, I don't want to have to guess. I'd never want to have to guess. I ask the person, if regular follow-up, when do you want me to follow up? Or how do you want me to follow up with you? In this case, when do you plan on checking out? When do you plan on clicking this link? Great. If I don't see, and they say, oh, as soon as we hang up, I'm going to do that. I'll be like, great. If for whatever reason I don't see that go through by the end of the day, would it be okay if just as a friendly reminder if I could follow up with you on that? Fantastic. Great. So see, now I've got that.
Right.
And so now, let's say I follow up with them, it's the end of the day, so maybe I give them the benefit of the doubt. I do it in the following morning. Hey, good morning, hope you had a great night. As discussed, I know I sent you that link yesterday. You probably got busy. No worries. Just as I said, a friendly reminder, for you to go ahead and to go ahead and click and check that out. Please let me know if you have any challenges with that. I'm looking forward to our first call, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
If for whatever reason before then, if I haven't seen you, go ahead and do this. Like I said, just another friendly reminder just to make sure we do that before our first call.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Is that helpful?
Very helpful. Yes, very helpful. Thank you.
In the future, and this is for everybody, it's important taking a few more minutes to go through this, and I'll refer you all to a call I did in the university, and I'll give that to you right now. It's call number 70, so sellingcoaching.com, call number 70, how to accept payment for coaching. And basically what I go over there is I would highly recommend that you get a service where you can accept a credit card over the phone. If you're like, because typically when you accept a credit card, not only when you accept a credit card, you're taking, usually it's a 3% fee for running a credit card plus, let's say, a 30-cent transaction fee. Some coaches are like, I don't want to lose the 3% either, but I want to take their credit card at the end of the call. I don't want them hanging up that phone, not having paid me, not having committed to it. And when you're sending a link or something like, or sending them to your website that has a button on it that says buy now or whatever, or a PayPal button, you're risking them not signing up. I can't tell you how many clients in the past I've lost because I didn't sign them up at the end of the call. And even current clients, when I did that call number 70 I just recommended, my client was on the phone that hired me probably 3 months prior to that call, and she's like, oh my God, Jeff, you know what? She's like, you're right. She's like, if you didn't take my credit card over the phone, she's like, after I hung up, I was excited, but I was also nervous, and I was thinking, gosh, if he didn't ask for that credit card then and there, I know I would have backed out. And it's a great client of mine that I've been helping the last 3 months, you know what I mean? And it was a perfect testimony that as soon as they hang up, as far as I'm concerned, you've lost them. So in other words, this man or woman that you're saying right now that, you sent them the link, they said they wanted to hire you, I hope I'm wrong, but I bet you'll never hear from them again. And I hope I'm wrong.
I hope too, but
and I'm saying that to be real.
Very, very helpful.
Yes, is that helpful?
Yes.
Awesome. And with that being said, for everybody listening to that, I'm not being a negative Nelly. I'm just, and I'm saying, please prove me wrong, Lynette. Email me and say, Jeff, you were so dead wrong. They ended up paying them. As soon as I got off the phone with you, they clicked the link and blah, blah, blah. Great. But either way, I'd follow up with them. And since you haven't arranged it, arrange it from an email, meaning, hey, did you set your first session up with them?
No, the first session hasn't even been set up yet.
Perfect. So what I would do is I would call them first and say, hey, listen, I know we're excited to get going. I know you said you're going to do the package. I want to call and get you in the schedule for our first call so we can get going on this. Mm-hmm. You got to get them into a commitment somehow because people are afraid to say no. So by asking for the payment at the end or even just starting to ask them to get them in your calendar, if they're at all hesitant or pausing, they're not going to do that. Or they're going to hesitate more, and that's when you're going to flesh out what's really going on in their head. And if they're really not interested and they're just saying yes so they can get off the phone and then disappear.
Okay.
So good stuff. Great job, Lynette. Great question.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your help. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Who else has a question? Anything, even something you want to run by me?
This is Miles.
Go for it, Miles.
I'm looking at my lead-in to start out with an assessment. It's not the ELI, but normally this assessment is sold for about $197 or so. What I'm looking at is selling it for $97 as a standalone, but having it as a lead-in into my bigger package. Do you think that I should also have a downloadable of of some size or some import that if they don't buy into that assessment, they get this downloadable to kind of make them feel good or something. Just, I'm
you
really
saying, Miles, the downloadable is like a free something?
Yeah.
Okay. So your question is basically you've got this assessment, and the assessment, let's say $97, right?
Yes.
And you feel that this assessment is a great lead-in for someone that when you do it with them and you uncover the results, et cetera, it's a great lead-in to like a larger coaching package.
Yes, it is.
Right. But you're saying if they don't, for whatever reason, this is in front of them and they're not there, is there something else that's like a free level that you can get them in at?
Yeah, or at
that
least
help them?
build some interest to make them come on further and go into this. It's a retirement assessment.
Yes.
And then it leads on.
Yeah, so where I would start with everybody, Miles, is free.
Okay.
Because the number one thing, if we think back to our business, and our whole business is building an audience. Or we got to build an audience so we can be in front of them on a weekly basis, multiple times a week. Starting with email and then maybe using a social media platform as well. So with that being said, that's where free comes in. So whatever, maybe think about it like this, Miles. If this assessment, that's the $97 assessment, what's a, for lack of a better term, what's a watered-down version of that assessment? Not so it's just watered down so it's not valuable, but it's still got enough meat that they would find value in it that they can download for free. That gets them into your circle, meaning it gets them onto your email list, right? It attracts them like, ooh, what's this? Whatever it's called, right? And I enter my name and email. That gets people in. And then from there, if they consume it, that's a natural lead into this assessment that you have.
Okay.
So I would think about it like not necessarily presenting. If you're doing an event, for instance, or you're speaking live in front of people, I would, number one, I would still offer them the freebie because you want to get those people on your email list first and foremost. But then you can also sell like this assessment because you're live in front of people, and that would be, it warrants something like that. You just delivered some good value, you're face-to-face, you could sell them something. You know what I mean?
Yes. Well, give them, basically, from what I'm hearing, is give them an overview of the assessment with a little bit of meat on it, but not something that they can take and run with and that they don't need me at that point. Just
So if you're talking about an assessment, for instance, because I've done different ones as well, and I mean, you can give a lot of meat in the sense of even talking, like one assessment I've used is a DISC assessment. It's like a behavioral assessment. I could talk all about DISC and D and what does it stand for and what does it typically do, blah, 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 right? And all the different, the I, the S, and the C, but not actually run them through the assessment. And like, all right, so, at the end it's like, hey, if you're interested in learning more and figuring out where you fall, in these categories and how that impacts, blah, 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 talk to me. I do this great assessment. It's $97. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
So I would give them, I'm a big advocate of giving some really valuable stuff. Like, look what I'm doing here. Like, I've got open office hours. Like, you see my university. Like, I give a lot of free detailed stuff, and in exchange for that, that's where I hopefully have that lead capture. People like, wow, this is good stuff. They go to my Ultimate Startup Guide for New Coaches. They go to my private Facebook group. Now, once they're in that circle, they I'm in front of them with my calls every week, my recordings, and whatever else I'm doing, and that can lead towards the paid stuff. So does that help answer your question?
It does immensely. It really does. I am very thankful for your answer on that.
Awesome. I want to make sure I really answered that. And always with people, the primary way we market as a coach is that education-based marketing. At least that's the model that I like to teach, is we educate, and that attracts the people, and they're in that circle. And then there's always that higher level, whether it's the mentoring or the coaching, or maybe there's a course you offer, et cetera, or an assessment. And then it's just a matter of time before those people go like, you know what? they've seen it over again. Miles, well, I think he's really good, or I think I'm going to look into that assessment more. You know, some of you are on this call listening in, and you're like, wow, you know what? Jeff, this, I think he could help me. And it's like, you know what? I think I might want to work with Jeff as my mentor coach now, you know, because that builds that value over time. So keep offering that. So glad that was helpful, Miles.
Yes, it was. And anybody, I'll take the moment to say if anybody is wanting to hire Jeff as your mentor coach, go for it.
Thanks, Miles.
Love you, Jeff. You know
great.
that.
He's a group mentoring client of mine. He's a great advocate. Thanks you so much. Who else has a question? Open call, my friends.
Jeff, this is Rochelle again. Can we circle back to what's your process when you, let's say, meet somebody at the gym, at the bank, whatever, you get talking about what you do and getting their contact number or giving them yours? Because I've been in that situation several times, and then on the back end it seems to fall a little flat. So what's your process?
Yeah, so you're saying I'm out with a gym or anywhere for that matter, right? And I'm connecting with somebody, and the topic of conversation comes up about what I'm doing as a coach, right?
Well, example, I was at the bank yesterday, and a girl that I had talked to previously about what I was doing brought it up, and she said, you know, yeah, that's something I might be interested in. She gave me her email on the back of her card for the bank. She didn't really want me to call her at the bank, and I thought she had given me her number, so obviously I emailed her, but then I haven't heard back from her. And so obviously how I'm doing this, and it keeps happening, the follow-up is not right. So what's the best, most effective?
Yeah, so first and foremost, right, if someone especially is, what I'm hearing you say is they're saying like, oh, I might be interested in this, or, right, it's kind of leading towards that. Mm-hmm. If there's any amount of time, I mean, I'm talking even like a minute more that you can have with that person, I always would ask, like, for instance, this woman said what? I might be interested in that.
Yes, because she asked me, oh, how's the business going? And I told her about the workshop, blah, blah, blah. She's like, oh, gosh, I'd love to do that. I told her about the one in September. And then I said, I know you expressed interest before. Where are you now? She goes, yeah, I really think I need to maybe get on board with that. I go, well, great. I'd love to go offline and chat with you about it. I gave her my card, and I said, can I have your information? So she took her card and wrote her email on the back of it. And then she made the statement of kind of like, well, I prefer, you know, we not talk about it at my work number, and said something to the effect, if you email me, I can exchange the personal information.
Okay. Yeah, so when anyone makes a comment like that, I would say, like that, I'd absolutely love to talk to you about that, and then clarify what they mean by that. So if they're saying, you know, I'd love to do this with you, or I'd love to look into that, et cetera, maybe I consider working with you, or any version of those things, like, great. When you say that you'd love to get into that or love to look into that a little bit more, tell me more specifically what you mean, or tell me, you know, can you help me to understand what you're thinking more specifically? Okay. I want to find that right out then and there. So, oh my God, someone comes up to you after an event, you're meeting someone at the supermarket, the gym, and you start talking about that, and they're asking about something, and they want to exchange contact information, or they ask for your business card even. You know, it's like, I'm curious what you want my card for, you know, or I'm curious when you say you might be interested in coaching, tell me a little bit more about, you know, if you have the time, you know, maybe what you're going through, where you think this might be valuable for you. I want to find out a little bit more about that with that. And then most importantly is always get their contact information. Like you said, you gave her your card and she gave you her information as well. I don't even care to, like, I don't even give out my information to people, not because I don't want to, just because it's irrelevant. What's relevant is me getting their information. Because if I just give them my card, for instance, which I don't even have cards, I tend to just get their information, pull my smartphone out, but I want their information so I can follow up. Because if I just give them theirs, and you did good because you got hers as well, but as for in general for everyone listening, if you just get theirs, it's as good as gone. I mean, if you just give them yours, right, and you don't get their information, it's as good as gone. Then we can follow up. But like I said earlier, is plan a follow-up. So in other words, she, email me, she said, or whatever. It's like, and unless they're specific about that, I would say, listen, so what's the best form of communication for you? Great. I'll send you an email. Awesome. And then when can we expect to, or how do you want me to follow up with you on this? Or what's the next step when I email you? Ask them, what are they looking for? Or are we looking for a time to arrange to set up, to speak more? Do you see what I'm saying, Rochelle? Like, find out more specifically what the next step is and why am I emailing you and what are we going to be talking about?
Okay, yeah, because I just feel like this happens all the time, and I could fill my business with the number of times it happens, but it just falls flat at the end, and obviously I'm not doing something right.
Yeah, and most of the time, here's what's happening, is people are saying things, but it's like we have to find out, like, what do they really mean by what they're saying, and what are they really thinking? And when we find those things out, we might find out that, yeah, maybe they're not thinking anything, or maybe they're really not interested, or maybe they're just saying stuff because they don't know what else to say.
Okay.
Or they're just showing interest because they're just wanting to show interest, but it's not like they're really considering hiring you or doing something. So when I talk about qualifying, this is what we do as coaches. To qualify, we clarify. We clarify. What do you mean by that? Tell me a little bit more about what you're thinking. Help me to understand, what you're looking for. And now at least you can walk out of there knowing, like, oh, this person's really not interested in hiring me. Oh, this person's really not interested in setting up an event like I thought. They just want to blah, blah, blah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Helpful?
Yes, very.
Perfect. Yeah, so try that out. Just get a little more information from them.
Okay.
And really what this comes down to for everyone listening to this is just really understanding people's intentions. This is selling. So you all know I help coaches transition to a full-time business, and like the name of my company is Selling Coaching. And the reason I focus on the sales aspect is because this is selling. Selling is all really is understanding where someone is in that process, from a need that they have, from that continuum where it just is apparent that they need something or want something, to the point where the timing is right and they buy. And it's us asking the questions and understanding and clarifying to the point where we truly understand where they are and what they're thinking along that process continuum.
Awesome.
Okay. Who else has a question? We're rolling through this. We still got 20 minutes left, baby.
Hey, Jeff, it's Justin.
Hey, go for it, Justin.
Hey, what's one of the biggest obstacles you've had to overcome in becoming a full-time coach, and what kind of support did you have that helped you through that, or what did you find that was really beneficial for you?
Great question, man. Great direction change, too. The most challenging obstacles, honestly, and just talking off the top of my head, number one, and how about this, not necessarily in any order, I'll give you a few that are coming to me, is what we're talking about here is, before I really understood selling, is just giving away my comp sessions, people not showing up, getting frustrated with that, like just getting to the end of all these complimentary calls if they did show up and no one hiring me, and giving away as much as I would give away, but then never getting any paid stuff out of it. That was an obstacle because I wanted to get paid from it, and until I started understanding the selling aspect, this is why I do what I do, Justin, right? This is why I'm so passionate about teaching the sales as I help the coaches transition to full-time, is because it's frustrating, and it's like, and you don't even know what, you think you're doing something wrong, and it's just, you're not doing anything wrong, you just didn't understand that piece. So that was definitely a big obstacle, because that really made all the difference in the world once I understood that. And the other piece to it is just the natural, what will I say, ebbs and flows of entrepreneurship, and the inconsistency of entrepreneurship, the unpredictability of entrepreneurship, and how it's affected by whatever's going on in the world and also whatever's going on in my life. And whether it's, something that's great or maybe not so great. So I went through my divorce, or I ruptured my Achilles tendon, or, great things like my son was born, or, you know what I mean? Like, so this full spectrum of things that consumes my time in different avenues, and investing in things like when I did my book, my first audio course. Now we're talking, 10 years back when I did my first audio course, but I put over 20 grand into that. I did not have $20,000 just sitting there. It's more than paid itself back over the years, but big investments like that for physical products, we don't do that as much now because the world's so digital, but that stuff was scary. And just balancing my ability to stay focused and present in my business while I'm also trying to be a dad and a husband or a whatever else, and to stay in the game and be consistent when it's so easy to just get into my office with no boss around and just blow things off. So I think that's, if I can say, the two biggest challenges would be those things. What was the second part of the question, Justin? Like, I know you asked about the biggest challenges, but...
Yeah, I guess I just also want to know what were some of the areas, or where did you get support from, or what kind of things did you use to help you get through that?
I'll tell you right away is my mentors. I attribute all, and that's why I'm such a big advocate of mentors, not because I'm a mentor coach, but because I've always used mentors. Like, when I started getting frustrated with the selling aspect, meaning I didn't know it was sales I needed to know yet, right? I just knew that no one's showing up or no one's hiring me or very few people. It was like, wow, what's going on? And my very first mentor, man, I just attribute so much to him, like in the work I did with him. That was the support I needed, because it was those people who were able to look at my situation and identify, like, oh, you need help with this, or this is sales or whatever, and I'd be like, oh, really? Is it? And then I started learning about that and getting like results. I'm like, wow, that is just a different understanding or a skill set I needed to develop. So right off the bat, mentors have always been my biggest support in that development. So I went from personal development, where it's just general like mindset and like bettering myself as a person, how I think, feel, and act, so to speak, my behaviors, my habits. Then with entrepreneurship, it was more specific development, meaning a skill set of selling or closing or marketing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
That's why I like getting mentors for those things. Of course, I had support from my family and things like that, but honestly, support like that is nice in the sense that, hey, we wish you luck, versus saying, hey, you should quit this and get a job. That wouldn't be helpful. But in the world of entrepreneurship, assuming you have that, you're supporting yourself. That's the scary part, is no one's there to support you. Like, you've got to earn your own money. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so that's why I feel like I went right away to that mentor side, because those are the people that made me feel like, wow, I'm making a difference, and now I'm seeing the difference in the results and getting paid. So, who else? Question, things like that? Were you asking me something, or something specific of yourself?
Oh my God, can I share this, Jeff? I'm sitting here at my computer, and the lady I told you about at the bank just emailed me back and asked me where would I like to meet.
Boom, there you go.
Cool.
And let me ask a quick question. How long ago was that conversation where you exchanged cards in person?
Yesterday.
Okay. So, yeah, not surprised. One of the biggest things we have to realize as coaches is that when we have conversations like that, or earlier when Lynette talked about that woman or man or client who said they wanted to hire her, right, but then hasn't heard from her yet, when we end something like that, and especially if there's no plan for follow-up, it could be the end of the day, or it could be the next day, and it feels like it's been 2 weeks. It's like, yeah. What the heck? They're not following up with me. What do I do? And the reality is it's been like a day or even a couple days, or even the week, right? Unless you've planned something, it's like sometimes a week's really not that long. You have to think about it for yourself. Like, unless it's a priority, they're probably not going to get back to you right away. And on our end, it can feel like it's forever. So that's just another kind of a tip that came off that. Thanks for sharing that, Rochelle. I'm glad she got back to you.
Yeah. And your advice about make the follow-up as close to the contact as possible, because I forego some errands and came straight home and emailed her to say, hey, great to touch base. Here's my number. Follow up with yours, and let me block off some time and we can chat.
Definitely. Yep, that's awesome. So great. Who else has a question? Whether it's about yourself, something you want to ask me?
Hey, Jeff, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, thanks for doing this. This is really awesome that you're giving this all to us.
Wait, who's this? Sorry, I didn't get your name. Sorry.
Sorry, it's Kevin.
Okay, Kevin. Hey.
Hey, what are 3 things, tools in the tool shed for a coach getting out the door that perhaps they should maybe if you had seen it back when you started, were something that you wish you had starting out, be it either simple as a business card or as complex as a website?
Gotcha. So, like, what are you saying that, like, the top 3, like, getting out of the gates, like, where I'm going to start?
Yeah, like things that, if you had those, you would be pretty far ahead of the game. Stuff that, as I'm sitting here still learning, that I can start building, so when I'm ready to tear off the Band-Aid, we're ready to rock.
Yeah. So I'd say that starting, like, rewinding for myself, but even just in general, if I'm working with someone, I'd say that starting off, number 1, absolutely unequivocally, is figure out, like I say the phrase, who you're helping with what specifically. That's like literally that's the best thing you can do getting out of the gates. It's not a tool, it's not something you got to get, but it's like, to me, that's like, if you're hiring me, Kevin, one-on-one mentoring, right? Other than, getting to know you a little bit and, seeing what type of business you want to create, maybe virtual or face-to-face, et cetera, really the first thing we're working on is who do you help with what specifically? Because that's going to drive, no matter where we're doing it, on or offline, it's going to drive where do we look for these people, how do we market to these people, how do we capture these people, how do we speak to these people. It's going to drive our content. It's going to, it's drive our free offer. So that's like first and foremost number 1 priority. And I'll tell you, the more specific you can get, the better off you are. So and it can be really challenging because I know myself going back, thinking about it, and then even now working with my clients, I try and get them as specific as possible. But a lot of people, it's just so afraid to get specific. Meaning, I help new moms lose their baby weight using kettlebells in under 10 minutes a day. Like that's like super over specific, right? And it's versus like I just help women get in shape. Like the general version of it. So the more specific you can get, the better off, and that drives everything else. So that's like I would say the number 1, not really necessarily a tool, but that's number 1 thing from there. And then from there, like the second aspect I'd say is once you figure that out, is find a space, let's say online, even if you're planning to do like local events and stuff like that, but find a space online where you can start building your email list. So the tool, if you will, would be like aweber.com. It's an email marketing platform. I recommend that. There's MailChimp. It's aweber.com.
I've heard of MailChimp and Aweber.
Yeah, there's MailChimp, there's Constant Contact, and there's probably 100 others. Aweber, A-W-E-B-E-R, .com, that's one I recommend. Again, they're all roughly priced the same. MailChimp it's got a free thing until a certain amount of contacts, but also it's limited in terms of some elements you can use until you're paid. But either way, that's a tool that I would get because that's where I can start. I'd upload my existing email contacts, start an email list, and I get a free offer. And if I don't have a website, I'd put it on like my Facebook page. Or if I'm using LinkedIn, I'd find a spot where I can put a link for my free offer. And Aweber is a source where you can create an opt-in box and have a link for that if you don't have it on a website or something like that. So in other words, that's the tool is Aweber, but the other end of it is like I've got a free offer, like a freebie that I'm giving away that's geared towards my audience. So as I begin to market myself, I can build my audience. And I remember starting off, I didn't do that. I did whatever a lot of people do, and some people don't even have, like on a website, is like, sign up for my newsletter. You know what I mean? Or in the beginning, I didn't even have that. But it's like no one wants to sign up for your newsletter. But if you've got something that's compelling for them, yeah, they'll do that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that's like the second tool, if you will, kind of the free offer combined with the tool of Aweber. And then the third one, I'll do this, is I would sign up for a credit card, a way to process credit cards, believe it or not. I recommend something called authorize.net. If you need specifics on that, you can just email me. Go through my website, jeff@sellingcoaching.com. I can give you specifics on that. But the reason I recommend signing up for something like that versus using like a free PayPal, and I talked about this earlier, I believe with Lynette about her client, is you've got to be able to, on the end of a complimentary session, you've got to be able to take someone's credit card over the phone. To reiterate, I did a call, I don't know if you were on earlier, Kevin, I did a call number 70 in my university. So sellingcoaching.com under the university, call number 70, it's how to accept payment for coaching. And I go into detail, but the third tool is like I've got to have something that if I'm on the phone with you, Kevin, and we have a comp session, and you're like, Jeff, I'm doing this. I'm hiring you, man. This is awesome. Like, great, Kevin. Let's get you in the schedule. Here's my package. Here's the price. Here's the investment. I prefer to take it up front. And you're like, fantastic. Great. What's your credit card number? What's your billing address? I get that information. I run the card. We hang up the phone. I've got a client. The next day, that money's in my bank account.
Yep.
That's why I need that. And because if you hang up, you might be like, great, Jeff. You know what? This is great. Great. You're going to send me a link. Hang up that phone. In my experience, you're probably gone. So from a tool perspective, even if you're not ready, people are like, oh, but I'm not getting clients just yet. It's like, well, if you're in business and you're ready to go, like you need to have that. And like in authorized.net, what I refer people, because the guy I refer them to can get it for $15 a month as opposed to the 25. But it's $15 a month. But then when you process credit cards, like any credit card processor, it's 3% of the transaction, and I think it's a 30-cent transaction fee. And people are like, oh, why would I use that and pay $15 a month when, I could use like PayPal for free as an example. And it's because if you don't take that credit card payment over the phone at the end, you're going to lose so much more business that way. It's one client you get that way is worth the $15 a month for the rest of your life, basically. You know what I mean?
Yep,
so those are, if you will, the top three tools. That's where I would go.
Perfect.
Was that helpful for you?
Yeah, the number one with the client profile is something I'm building, but the other two, what I like about them was unexpected. I was not thinking about those, so it's, like I said, more tools in the tool shed. So much appreciated on those.
Awesome. Kevin, what's your last name?
Crawford, Crawford.
Okay. How do you know you from? This is your first call, right?
This is my first call, and I was just being a voyeur for the first, hour.
Yeah.
We connected through Facebook.
Awesome. It was good to have you, man.
I'm in the IPEC stuff and all through that.
Good. It was good to have you.
Yeah, thanks.
Awesome. Who else? We still got about 3 minutes. Let's do one more question. Why not?
Hey, Jeff.
Last call. Go for it.
Jeff, this is Miles.
Go for it, Miles.
One thing that I want to bring up as far as taking payment through PayPal, I have found, and my wife has found, that PayPal does not accept, or some banks will not process PayPal payments.
Yeah.
Wells Fargo is one that to work through PayPal, Wells Fargo doesn't work with them.
Okay.
So that's one thing to keep in mind there.
That's good to know. Yeah, at the end of the day, like I said, if PayPal does have a way to do that, it's called PayPal Pro, where you can accept virtual terminal, which is I can take the credit card over the phone, and also the other one that comes along with that, with the one I recommend with authorized.net, and then even PayPal Pro, it's called recurring payments. And that's a great feature because some people can't pay in full, and it's like, I'm not going to, if you want to make payments, I'm fine with that. We'll set it up and come out automatically. I'm cool with that. So, yeah, either way, and then I recommend authorized.net because instead of paying the $30 for PayPal, it's half that, and I found it to be a lot more reliable and easier customer service access. So, but thanks for sharing that, Miles.
Okay.
Awesome, everyone. Well, listen, thank you all for calling in. I know there's some boarders that have been listening in, so thanks for you for taking the time and effort to call in, and for those of you that came in also to ask the questions. It sounds like it's been helpful for all of you as well, so I appreciate that, and you have that thread. So yeah, we'll be in touch. Next week we'll be doing another Tuesday call as usual, and then if this is something like this, this group format that you like, I have a group mentoring program where we do it on a live platform. It's a video conferencing platform. I do it every Wednesday at 4 p.m., 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern. It's called my JSL Mentoring Mastermind. It's my premium group mentoring program. I'll post it in with this on the Facebook group, and then with my call recording as well. If you're in a place where you'd like kind of like this format, we kind of do it live. Depending on how many people call in, we do it either just each person has a certain amount of time, or if it's more people, we kind of run through a format like this. But we do that every week, and it's a great way to kind of have access to me on a regular basis for support and specifics as you go along. So, of course, if that's of interest to you, I'll throw that out to you.